It's the Cold Beer Surf Club.
Right on, Shane. Well, dude,
Yeah.
thanks so much.
No worries,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Stoked to be here.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, thank
Right
you.
on.
Yeah, this has like been sort of a little mini dream of mine to pop it up over here on the North Shore and get a couple of guests that I've always looked up to a lot
Rad.
and get to talk stories. So
Thanks for having
taking
me.
the
I'm
time,
stoked to be
dude.
here, man.
Yeah,
Be fun.
it's funny. We were kind of touching on it before we even started, but to me, it still just trips me out that I get to actually like hang out and surf and get to know the guys that I always looked up to. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. It's funny, just now, right before we started filming, Aki and Joel Parkinson were here, and like, so fun to like see like all the different generations all in one yard with your brother was here, and like, it was fun.
Dude,
Super
yeah.
cool.
For us, we're like still such big surf fans and
Yeah.
frothers, and like from, all the generations. And I think that's so cool and unique about surfing is like it really transcends like
Yeah.
just age almost doesn't matter. And I think that's something to me. It's like as I've gotten older now, and I'm like, I'm 32. I still feel so young, but like having a Grom and kind of being like not competing, like all of a sudden looking up to, all you guys who are just staying in such good shape and still surfing and like living the lifestyle that, I'm like, dude, that's what I want to be doing again in 15 years or whatever it is, So yeah, thanks for the inspiration.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm psyched, man. Stoked to be here.
Dude, so I guess, there's so much I want to talk to you about, but I guess starting almost just in like today, it's like, what are you up to these days?
A lot, actually. I'm so used to saying, like my whole life, like I could answer that in one sentence.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm on tour, I'm in between events, I'm trying to go for a world title, or or I'm surfing big waves, and that's what I'm doing. But these days it's weird, I'm 53 years old, and I did like a long chapter of competing, and then I did a long chapter of like really hyper focused on really, really big waves, where that was like my whole life, like I poured everything into that, like eat, sleep, drink, workout, everything was focused on really, really big waves. It's like, I get hyper focused about things. And then these days it's cool, like I still love to surf, and I still surf as much as I can. I'm here on the North Shore for about 3 months a year, the last like 3 or 4 years, really kind of falling back in love with the North Shore. For me, it's like a great place to be. Like, it's just super healthy. I stay here on the beach, and if the waves are great, I'm surfing. If it's super crowded or doesn't look that fun, I'll go for a beach walk or a beach jog, body surf, ride a longboard. Very low pressure type of situation for me these days. I don't like force myself to surf waves I don't want to surf. If pipeline's super packed and I'm just not in the mood, I'm just totally cool with not surfing. And then I have a couple other things going on as well, like kind of work things, which is kind of a trip. Do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, it's weird. I think this is going to happen more and more, like in the pro surf world, and it's actually sort of starting to happen already. But I think people are like trying to carve out a part of their life where they want to allocate time or effort or energy into something either they're really interested in or passionate about, or even something that's like a side hustle or whatever, the surfing thing for me is still like my life, but I do have more time on my hands these days. So I ended up taking a job 2 years ago now. I work for a real estate development company, and I'm working on a couple different projects that are really fun. They're hotel and residential projects, and essentially what I do is kind of help design and curate the wellness amenities. So everything from like fitness spaces even to spa, wellness, longevity, all that kind of stuff, how those experiences kind of go together and will look and feel as those projects get built.
Yeah.
So it's really been fun. For me, it's like a learning totally new things, kind of like a 90-degree turn. And it's like something that's like super, feels good to get out of my comfort zone. Working really with amazing people. And it's not like a full-time gig, like 9 to 5. The company I work for is based out of Miami. So most of it's like Teams calls. I have 3 to 6 of those a week. So I still have tons of time. That's really great. And then I just started doing online coaching as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Specific, like in the surf world or?
Fitness.
Fitness, cool.
Yeah. So
Dude,
like,
I gotta
yeah,
get in on one of these coaching sessions.
So I'm doing online fitness coaching. So I like my clients are only men. I only coach men, and only 40s and 50s. So you gotta wait a while.
Damn.
You're in the right age
8
range.
years away.
No, I just, I'm focused on kind of what I know and kind of what I'm really, really into. So yeah, I work with clients that are like in their 40s and 50s that want to get in the best shape of their lives forever. Not like shred for summer or like I'm on a cut for now so I can fit into my tux for my wedding. That's not my deal. Yeah. I'm like trying to like shift people's focus into like longevity, health and wellness for the long term and to like be fit for life. Yeah. So yeah, it's fun. It's fun to have different things that you're passionate about and focused on and have the energy and space in your life to do it, I guess. Sorry, that was a long rant.
Dude, no way. That's so cool. I mean, it's interesting just like what you even started saying is like I think surfing, in general, it's like, I feel like we learn so much actually if you commit to like being a surfer and like running your kind of own little business.
Yeah.
And then being open to like, wow, like this can open so many doors for you. And like the skill set, even just being a sponsored athlete and like, hopefully having your head in kind of like your finances and being smart about, it's like we're, doing our own little marketing and doing our own little photo shoots, like all this stuff. And I feel like a lot of those skills end up being applicable to so many different parts of life now.
They can be.
If you choose to make them that way.
Like I'm sure you see that with like your generation or the people that you've sort of been around in the surf world, like you can either choose to like get involved and engage in learning and being like curious, asking questions and not being afraid to ask stupid questions and like learning as you go and evolve and grow. Or you can just kind of like be like, oh, I'm just a surfer. That's all I know. Yeah. I'm just a good surfer.
For sure.
And then those guys get to the end of their deal and then they have like a identity crisis. It becomes really difficult to transition into the next phase or a plan B or anything. Like, I feel like it's really, really good to be able to stay open-minded about the future because you just never know when things are going to change,
Totally. Was that something that as you went through your career, like were you conscious and aware of like when you were younger, or was that something that came to you later in life?
Not really. It was maybe more of a later in life thing. It definitely wasn't like premeditated or anything I was like really like focused on. People used to always ask me when I was like competing full time, like, hey, what are you going to do when you're done doing this? And I'd always be, I have no clue. And I really didn't. I had no idea. And then I started getting interested in other things, and that it just like led me down a road. It's weird, like so one of the things that has kind of led me down the road that I'm on is once I was done competing and I was surfing really big waves, and then once that started kind of mellowing out a little bit, Italo asked me to coach him here at Pipeline he was going for a world title. It was coming down a pipe, and he reached out and said, hey, will you coach me for this event? I had never coached anyone in my life, not really, not officially. And so I worked with him for like a 6-week period, and it went really well. He ended up winning the world title. It went really amazing. And then as soon as that happened, I had a bunch of other people like reach out, like, hey.
I think I was one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that year or the next year, but.
So I had people starting to reach out about coaching, which was trippy. And I went to like the World Juniors with the Hawai'i team a couple years in a row, and was the head coach for like the whole team for amateur kids, both boys and girls, which is a really cool experience. And then I kept working with like elite level pros, guys and girls, and then I ended up being the head coach for the Olympics last year for the US team. And the coaching thing has been weird. Like I didn't see it coming, but I just kind of followed it. I followed like where the energy was going, and it was just fun. And it even led me into my real estate development job because I don't know how to explain it any better, but like there's a lot of synergy between the health and wellness stuff that I'm doing and the backdrop of some of the projects I'm working on, having a surfing backdrop and working with clients and coaching and stuff like that. So it's weird how like you get to the point in your life where you're like, how did I even get here? And then you kind of do like you don't see it coming until you're there. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's almost you have to backtrack into like I don't know how to explain that any better than that, but life is wild, man. It's a wild ride. And either you choose to engage and go on that ride, or you can like put your head in the sand or try to get off the ride because it's too much for you,
Yeah. And it's funny, like, I I think too, I mean, I asked you like, what did you think about that when you're competing? And you started saying like when you do something, you get like hyper focused. And I feel like it's a little bit of a fine line for me because I've always been like interested in other stuff. At one point I was just a grom and I just surf, you know, and then I started getting older and I was like, oh, like this is cool. Like that's cool. I love to play music. Oh, I like to fish and dive. And
right.
But then when I was competing, I felt like sometimes those other things could like pull me away from being hyper focused on competition, that I felt like you kind of have to be able to just go all in on one thing to achieve like a certain level. But then at the same time, it's really nice to have those other passions and stuff to kind of like not give you that identity crisis. And I don't know, I feel like you don't totally, because you're all in on that one thing, but you have these other things that you're interested in, it almost lets you be like, oh, I can handle losing easier because there's more to life than only winning.
That's right.
The heats and stuff, and family and friends and like the support system. So
for sure. It's a delicate balance.
Huh?
I think it's a balance of like being able to be hyper focused and go all in when you're passionate about something huge, like something you're trying to achieve that's anything massive that very few people can do. Like say win a world title or even qualify. Like just to qualify, you have to have almost no other interests.
Totally.
Everybody else takes a back seat. Like it's pretty brutal, you know, on all your relationships and everything else in your life basically has to go on the side in order just to achieve this one goal. But then it's also, like you said, like you know, as you get a little bit older, I think it's really, really key to have other interests and be open-minded about things and have other things that bring you joy or other things that you like to learn about, because then, you know, at some point, you're not just a pro surfer. You're like, you know, I don't know. It's just a lot easier, I think, to make that adjustment and be a happy person if you have other things you're passionate about and you love to do. And yeah, I think you're a much more interesting person as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know?
For sure. No, I couldn't agree more. Because I've seen, I guess, coming up to and like getting ready to leave the tour, I was kind of like, we're not getting ready to leave, but I just knew like someday I'm not going to want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Whatever, I'm going to fall off tour.
Yeah.
And I'd seen a lot of people kind of really struggle with that were a little bit older than me. And I was like, man, I was like, I don't want to, like, I want to be stoked to go on to something else, you know, and have other life to live. And I feel grateful that sort of, you know, it's like family and friends and other interests. I was like, oh, cool. And surfing's something that for me, I will always do. I always knew whether I made a paycheck or was on the tour or something or not, that surfing was something that would bring me joy and happiness and friends and family and like that connection with the ocean and nature and stuff. So
you see people, it's much harder for people who choose to only put all their eggs in that one surfing basket and only see them, they identify as that's all they are. It's like you know, we all have friends that are like that. They just put everything in there. All they were was kind of surfing and never pursued or learned or passionate about anything else. And then, you know, once it's time to like leave the pro surfing deal, it's really hard on those individuals. Really hard, you know. It's like, it's really to slip into like a depression, to have an identity crisis and kind of, you know, feel like you don't even know who you are without being like on tour or competing or a world title or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I think it's easier to make that adjustment if you have other things that you're interested in, and even more so just be like open-minded to, like you said, like the next chapter being something exciting. This can be like something like really fun and exciting and different. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna learn new things and meet new people and go to new places and challenge myself and get out of my comfort zone. That's like the biggest common denominator, I think, is getting out of your comfort zone, because that's how you got good at surfing. Yeah. Just being like, putting yourself out there and being uncomfortable all the time, like surfing in contests, losing, getting last, getting third, getting bad. Like those are all uncomfortable like moments in your life that led you to something really rad. Like nothing good happens unless you get uncomfortable. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. As you transition out of like being like only a surfer, that's uncomfortable for people. Mm-hmm. And you either embrace that and shift gears and like, you know, go, life is short, like I'm gonna just rip it and have fun and like see where this takes me. Or you can kind of like, I don't know, I think the other option is no good. Yeah, it's kind of either like this or like this. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for sure. Expansive seems like the good route to go. Yeah. How long did you do the tour for? I don't know this. 12 years. 12 years, okay. Yeah. And was it, the whole time were you on tour, was it like CT format where it was like boom, QS onto the CT and then you were like there? Yeah, so the first year I qualified was the first year of the Challenger Series.
Okay.
It was the first year that they had the QS.
No way.
Before that, it was like a trials deal, like where you surf through the trials and then you had to have some points to get in the trials, but then you'd surf this trials and then you'd get into the main event at the event. There was certain slots that would go man on man against the lowest seeded guys.
Okay.
And then the year that I started trying to qualify was the first year they had a real qualifying series.
Wow.
And I ended up qualifying.
Sick.
So,
How old were you?
I was 20 years old.
20.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And already on the road, traveling the world.
Yeah, it was wild, dude. Like, my group of friends, we were like really hilarious. Like, we were just like a bunch of little kids. Like, we were all like 19, 20, 21. And like, we would get, you know, we would get to an airport in Australia or Portugal or France or whatever country it was when we were on the QS, and we were broke, so we would all like pile into like 2 rental cars. We'd have like 10 people in 2 rental cars, and like all of our boards, you know what it's like, have all your boards on the roof. And then back in the day, like, it's super expensive to rent a car if you're under 25, and none of us were over 25, so we'd have to pay this like crazy amount of money.
Fee.
Yeah, I remember like the day I turned 25, how excited I was about that aspect. But I remember it was just wild, like being a kid with a credit card and trying to like figure it all out with your friends, renting a car together, staying in a place together. And it was so uncomfortable, but so much fun. And you're just like, the learning curve was like accelerating, like in life, like, you know, growing and getting older and learning new things was super fun. And even like, you know, like the rental car people would just hand you the keys and in another language. They didn't know any English. You'd open a map. There was no smartphone, no like Google Maps, no DoorDash, no nothing. You just like to get a map out and be like, you have to drive to where the surf contest is in Portugal from Lisbon, and like
so
nothing's in
gnarly.
English, you know, like get lost like 20 times on our way to find where we're staying. And yeah, it was wild, man. It was really fun to be young and with a group of friends who was new for all of us, and none of us, no parents were on tour at all. Imagine that.
Yeah.
We were all together as kids, and it was like kind of epic because of that. Like we all kind of had to step up and learn. There was no like, oh, I qualified. Okay, my dad's coming on tour. My mom's coming on tour with me. I was like, just didn't even happen back then. I don't know what it was, but just wasn't like not a reality.
Yeah, I think even when I got on tour, it was like I did the QS like just with friends or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd try to find someone older to latch onto, and
Yeah.
be like, the Godowskises would be like, yeah, come do this leg with us and show you the ropes and stuff. And
I think that's the best way.
yeah, I trip out though, like looking back, like 16, just flying to Brazil and you can go and boom, you're just out in the world.
It's wild.
So wild.
Yeah, it's wild.
And I mean, at least you guys seem, from my perspective and like being a young guy looking up to all you guys, like you had such a rad posse to push each other and like travel with, and seemed like you guys really had a pretty unique group of camaraderie and stuff.
We did. We had a super kind of healthy group of friends. No one was like making super bad decisions. Like we were having lots of fun, but it was mainly about friendship, competition, traveling, learning, growing up. We were just like kind of like growing up together like a young little brotherhood. And but it was hard, you know. A lot of us were like losing all the time and like having, you know, super uncomfortable moments all around the world all the time. But it was like, it was like I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's the best way to grow up ever.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
And who was in that posse when you were doing the QS? Who all was
It was
competing with you?
me, Rob Machado, Ross Williams, Taylor Knox, Pat O'Connell. Kelly qualified the year before, I think, year before us. But yeah, I mean, it was like, I'm trying to think who else was there. Conan Hayes, maybe the next year, something like that. But yeah, it was like our group, it was like maybe like 8 or 10 of us, all Americans, and we would all travel together. It was super fun. At the time, it was like really cliquey, like the Australians, like they really stuck to their own deal.
Yeah.
And it was like really competitive between the Americans and the Australians. But it was cool because like the Hawaiians and the Americans all got together super well. Like the people from US mainland and the Hawaii guys were like, we all just felt like we were all from the US, you know, just in general. So
yeah,
it was super fun. Yeah. And Sonny, I remember I used to travel with Sonny a ton, and yeah, it was great. Really good memories for sure.
And were you kind of one of the first in the pack to qualify?
Yeah, I was. Ross and I think, qualified. I think Kelly qualified first. And then Ross and Rob Machado and I think qualified, and maybe even Taylor Knox the same year, all at once.
So rad.
Yeah. And then we were just like on tour the next year. It was like wild.
Damn.
And we were all like 20, 21 years old.
What was that transition like for you?
Brutal.
Yeah.
I did a lot of losing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was never the person that anyone ever thought was going to qualify. I never had like a good I never like won a national title or won a bunch of things as an amateur. I was never that person that everyone's like, oh, this guy's going to be a hammer on the tour. I like was a major overachiever. Yeah, I was like a pretty bad competitor actually when I was young, and I was a pretty bad small wave surfer. I didn't know how to surf any beach breaks. Like where I live, there's no sand.
Yeah.
There's only reef breaks, and so like I didn't really surf beach breaks until I was like probably, I don't know, 14, 15 years old. Hadn't really even surfed a beach break, and so I had to learn how to surf little soft beach breaks, and I was slow to it, and kind of learn how to compete. But it was fun. It was good that it was so hard, because I just had there was no like, I couldn't rely on anything. I had to just like white knuckle it out of every heat.
Sick.
Yeah.
So would you put a lot of your success towards like just your work ethic then?
Yeah.
Like, is that how you learned that?
Yeah.
Because it seems like you have a really gnarly work ethic just with whatever you do in life. You're like gonna commit and be able to like
Thanks.
put in the work to get
I
good at it.
appreciate that. Yeah. You know, I think a lot of that comes from my mom. My mom, I've said this before, but like my mom is probably like, growing up, she was like the most disciplined person I probably ever met. She always had like at least one job, if not two, and she was just like very organized, and like she just was like the opposite of like victim mentality. She like never blamed anyone else for her predicament. Like she like always took accountability, and I don't know, it was like a lot. She never like told me any of that, like be disciplined, stop being like it was just like I just learned from paying attention to her. And I just knew that like I didn't have the talent to like make it on anything else. I was just gonna have to grind it. I was gonna have to like work like crazy hard and like learn all these things as good as I could. And even then, it probably wasn't gonna work. But I had no plan B. So it was yeah. I slowly, incrementally started doing a little bit better in contests, and then I started gaining traction. And year after year, I started getting like higher in the rankings, and worked my way all the way up till I was in the top 10 for a bunch of years, and I finished 4th one year. So it was really cool, like actually going for the world title in the last event and all that. So it was like amazing to be competing at that highest level with like an amazing amount of like really cool people like Kelly, Rob Machado, Aki, Sonny Garcia, you know, a lot of those like world champions that we were on tour with, all those guys. It was like a golden era for sure.
Yeah, that's a crazy era to be like, I'm in the hunt for a world title.
Yeah, Potts, Gerlach, all those guys were on right when I got on the tour, and then the last few years I was there, it was like Joel Parkinson, Mick Fanning, Jordy Smith. So it was like really neat, like the generations to experience, you know?
Yeah.
It's really cool.
I know we were talking about that a little bit before we started, but just that feeling of being a young guy who qualifies for the tour, and then all of a sudden you're like paddling out in a heat with some guy you've looked up to your whole life. And you're like, oh, I got to try to smoke this guy right now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a weird thing to overcome, for sure.
Was that hard for you when you got on tour?
Yeah, and they didn't make it easy. I had some run-ins and back then it was like, I feel like people these days, like they just beat you fair and square. They just combo you or smash you with their surfing. But back then there was a lot of like, I don't know, it was weird. Like now there's like allocated priority, not to get in the weeds on this stuff, but like now it's like, Conner Coffin, you got this, you're paddling back out. Okay, you have priority. They just announce it. So you have priority. Back in the day, I remember I had a heat with like Damian Hardman, and who was like a 2-time world champion. And I was like a punk kid, like with a chip on his shoulder. And I didn't like the way Damian surfed. Like I wasn't like a fan of his surfing, right? And I was like I don't know how to say it. I was like a punk who I don't like, it's easy to not like kids, the kind of kid I was, I guess. But I remember I had Damian Hardman, and I was at Margaret River, and I was a man-on-man heat, and it was like backlit. It was like in the afternoon. You couldn't really see very good from the beach, and then I couldn't really hear anything because it was so windy.
Yeah.
and they were announcing like the scores, and I forget what it was, but I got something. There was like a miscommunication. I didn't know what was really happening, and there was like anyway, like at the time you had to paddle around a priority buoy in order to get priority, and there was like 3 minutes left, and I needed like a really small score. I think I needed like a 3, and then we were both paddling back out with no priority, and Damien was like looking at me like, what is he gonna do? Because I just needed like a 3, and but the buoy was super far out, and there was only like 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
So he dashed out to the buoy, and I was like, cool, I probably have like a minute and a half.
Because you could still catch a wave, like if you didn't go around the buoy.
Yeah,
you just
if he
wouldn't
was
get
out,
priority.
I could catch any wave I wanted.
Okay.
But as soon as he went around the buoy, he got
You
priority.
get priority.
So he was racing to get back to me,
Yeah.
to sit on me. But all I needed was a 3, and it just went flat. And then he got to me before, and I just knew it was over. As soon as he got to me, it was game over.
Yeah.
And I remember like insulting him basically the rest of the heat. Kind of telling him how I didn't like his surfing and all that stuff. Like looking back on it, but it was like, later on he was like, hey, I had so much respect for you.
Yeah.
How passionate you were and how pissed you were.
Yeah.
He's like, I love that. And then we became really good friends afterwards.
That's rad.
And I became like a fan of like his determination and how like psyched he was. And same thing, he wasn't one of those guys who were like, had all the ability in the world. He wasn't like a Gabriel Medina or like a Dane Henry or something like that. He had to grind his way to the top, and he won 2 world titles. And anyway, yeah, it was really cool. I had so many wild memories of like just battling it out, like just fighting tooth and nail, people like breaking their boards again. Like I remember I had Potts in his last heat ever on tour, and it was at North Narrabee, and it was at the Coke Classic when that year the last event of the year was at North Narrabee. And Potts lived in Sydney, and he had lived in Sydney for a long time, so he was like a local there. And I remember going down into my heat, it was man-on-man against Potts, and I was like, I looked up to Potts so much. Like, he was my favorite surfer when I was like a little kid. I had like a Potts airbrush, his board and stuff. And we were going out for our heat, and they were like, entering the waters, Martin Potter. This is his last event of the year, last event of his career. After this, he was like made this really big deal like about Potts and how he was like a really like this is just a legend, right? And they were talking about, they didn't even mention me the whole heat basically. They just mentioned, they was like, everyone there was like, go Potts. And we had this seesaw battle heat where it was like I was in the lead and he was in the lead, and I needed a score and I got it, and he needed a score and he got it. And at the very end I got the score I needed. And we were like talking shit the whole time too.
Classic.
And then we went on the beach, and I remember I was like doing like an interview afterwards, and he went up and like bashed his board against the fence right there, like smashed it into like oblivion. And I was like, fuck yeah. I was like so psyched. Yeah, it was like little like moments like that, like just stick out in your head, like those ultra competitive moments. And I had so much competitive spirit when I was young. It's crazy. I don't know where it went.
I was gonna ask you that. I was like, inherently, as when you were young, you were super competitive.
Super competitive.
Yeah.
I was breathing fire. Like I just was so competitive. I hated losing so much. I was like obsessed with trying to get better at competing. And it was awesome, and it served me well, you know.
Yeah.
But then I got to the point when I was like kind of nearing 30, where I was like kind of getting burnt out, and like I didn't really feel. I felt like the same emotion if I won as if I lost a heat. And I started getting homesick a lot, and like all that kind of stuff started happening, and I was like, oh man, this is not, I don't want to be half-assing this deal, you know what I mean? I felt like I wasn't meeting my true potential and everything, and that's what kind of shifted gears, and I really started getting into the idea of pursuing really surfing huge waves, because I was like, that's where I can feel like I'm going to hit my potential.
Sick.
Yeah.
So at that point, you're kind of already like thinking about transitioning off the tour anyways.
Yeah.
And looking sort of for the next
Yeah, I loved surfing really big waves. Like when I was little, I'm from a little town on the Big Island called Kona, and the waves are small there almost all the time. Like a swell there is like overhead. Like it's like kind of like California. So I grew up surfing like high performance small waves, and then when I was 15, I moved to the North Shore to pursue being a pro surfer. And I went to Wailua High School in Haleiwa, And
I
then
didn't know that.
yeah, and then my last 2 years I went to Kahuku.
Okay.
And when I moved to the North Shore, I was really good friends with Ross Williams and a couple other kids my age that were like 15 years old. And they were all surfing like Waimea Bay already. They were surfing pipe. They were surfing outer reefs. And I became good friends with Brock Little and Todd Chester and ended up living with them. And they took me under their wing and exposed me to surfing really big waves. And I ordered a huge board like, when I was really young. And I started surfing all the outer reefs in Waimea. Like I just fell in love with, like I wasn't a big wave surfer at all. I was terrified. And then I just fell in love with it. And then when I was on tour, I just didn't have any time to pursue it. And then when I started getting burnt out and competing, that's when I was like, oh, I really miss surfing big waves. Like there was all these swells I was missing and stuff. And I was like, I really, really want to go do all that stuff, work on projects, make films, and then surf really huge waves.
So,
Yeah.
And so you were around 30 at that point?
Yeah.
You said you did the tour until you were 32?
I did a tour until I think I was 34.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, from like 21 until I was like 33. Yeah. So 12 years.
It's pretty long. It's a long run.
It's a long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I did 7 or something. It felt
Yeah.
kind of long. But it also goes by so quick.
Goes quick, yeah.
How old were you when you started having kids?
I think I was 34.
So kind of similar time.
Yeah.
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 Did you kind of wait until you were done with the tour because you were traveling so much?
Yeah. I always knew that I didn't want to get married early. I never wanted to get married at all, actually, ever. I never thought of it, I was a marrying type of person or a kid person. I don't know. I was really selfish, I guess. Like I just wanted to do all the stuff that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then I met my wife now. I met her when I was pretty young, and I was like, oh God, here we go. She's definitely the right one. Like, oh no. And then we were together for 3 years. We were together for 5 years, and she was from California. So we had, it was hard, long distance relationship. She was in college, I was on tour. And then she got a job in LA and I was on tour, and it was like really hard. So we split up for 3 years, and then we ended up getting back together. And when we got back together, we knew we wanted to have kids at that point, but we were just like, we took 5 years. We had all these things we really wanted to do. We wanted to travel a lot. She wanted to run a marathon. Like we wanted to do all these things before having kids, which was like kind of the best thing we ever did. And we kind of timed it, like had a strategy about it and all that kind of stuff. So
Sounds like you timed it perfectly.
yeah, I mean, it worked out for us for sure. Yeah.
Was it hard to like leave your kids to go surf huge waves?
Yes.
Because dude, for me, like even just having a son, like it definitely, all of a sudden I was kind of like, whoa, like pipeline, like I'm gonna go buy a helmet now. And I never thought about shit like that before. I was just like, yeah, sweet, no worries, like it's just me, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it totally like made me start looking at things a little differently.
Yeah.
And I've had to almost like go backwards and kind of be like, okay, no, like I still want to do this. I love riding those waves. Like I want to surf some big waves and stuff. So I gotta like do it the right way. But
yeah, it can be, it can be pretty confronting when you have kids and you really start, you start kind of judging yourself on your actions, immediately. I do as a father, and like, what is responsible? Like, what is this responsible? Am I like, I don't know, there's like so many irresponsible choices you can make, and surfing giant waves and not having a safety plan when you have little children at home is like way up there as far as I'm concerned. So I had a pretty gnarly scare when my daughter was like just born and my son was really young. I surfed Mavericks and had a near-death experience. I almost drowned, almost died, and it was like a really like traumatic experience for myself. And that experience led to me coming up with that inflatable pull vest, and that was really cool because it helped me extend my time of surfing really big waves for like a long time, because I was gonna quit because I just felt it was like way too irresponsible to surf those kind of waves when I have kids at home that aren't choosing for their dad to go do this, So yeah, that ended up being really cool. It ended up being a really good thing. But yeah, I mean, to answer your question, it was hard to surf really big waves once I had kids, and even my wife. Like, once you have, things you really need to be there for, and it's not just all about you. It's really, really becomes all about them. So yeah, I mean, I definitely questioned a lot of my. I would start getting really calculated once I had a family about surfing big waves. I still wanted to surf really big waves, but I try to make it as safe as I could.
What when you say that, like what sort of things could you do to make it safer?
Well, I started I thought nothing of safety when I was younger. I would paddle out to, outer reefs when it was 20 feet and whip it and go on a wave that I pretty much knew I was going to eat shit on with no vests, just in trunks with like a crappy leash that I hadn't used in like 2 years, like barely any wax. Like I was just like rogue. And then when I had kids, I was like, I started surfing Jaws, paddling Jaws, really big Jaws.
Yes.
And Mavericks and stuff. And so every time, I was really lucky because I was really good friends with Ian Walsh, who lived there right next to Jaws. And he was he was a lot younger than I am, but he was really organized and was into safety as well because he had like a tow surfing background. So he had the skis and they did a lot of water safety for like a lot of the towing. So when I started paddling Jaws, we really kind of got super organized with our water safety team. So every single time I'd go to Maui or to Mavericks or anywhere, my number one thing I would put in place is to make sure I had a safety team looking out for us that was well trained, that I was paying, that was looking out for me and for Ian specifically, and just making sure that was like all dialed. That was like probably the most responsible thing I could do.
So,
yeah.
Did you feel like, were there times when that paid off where you were like, holy shit, I'm so glad that I invested in that?
For sure. I mean, just for like a peace of mind perspective and knowing you're doing the right thing, like all of us, whether you're surfing giant waves or not, like when you're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to a bar and you have one too many drinks and you take an Uber home instead of driving, like it's the right thing to do. Like we all, especially when you start having kids, it's like there's like all these things that become like super obvious if you're not doing the right things. And like, having water safety when you're surfing really big waves and trying to be as safe as possible to come home to your family is like a no-brainer.
And you pretty much, you were one of the first guys to paddle Jaws, right?
Big Jaws, yeah.
How crazy is that wave?
It's crazy. You should surf it if you're interested in it.
I am a little bit.
I tell people this, like if you are think you're kind of interested in it, you should go.
Yeah.
Because people aren't interested in it. The people who don't go there are like, like if you're even like a little bit interested, you should go because you'll be happy that you did. You'll be blown away by how much you want it when you're there.
No, it's funny because Parker and I've always sort of had that, like I want to surf big waves in the back of my mind, but when I got on tour, like you said, I didn't grow up doing it.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have time or felt like it was responsible for what I was trying to accomplish at that point to like be trying to chase big waves.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of funny timing for me, just like when I stopped doing the tour, it was like straight, like we kind of had our kid right after, so I didn't really get the time to like get into it.
Yeah.
But we did go surf that big cloud break swell.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest waves I've ever surfed of like, actually like big and like quality and like nuts, like barrels and stuff. And I was like, whoa, this is insane.
Yeah.
But it also, like the things you're saying too, I just was like, I wasn't in super good shape. Like I hadn't been surfing that much.
Yeah.
And I kind of went feeling like I wasn't super prepared. And afterwards I was like, okay, next time I'm like gonna do this, I want to make sure that I have all my ducks in a row, like have my equipment, know the freaking pole vest better, like be in better shape, all that stuff.
Yeah,
so.
Being in good shape is having the equipment is not that hard.
Yeah.
Having a safety team or being like plugged into a safety program is not that hard. But being in shape is a hard part because you can't just train for like, okay, I'm gonna start training now and I'll be ready in like 2 months. Like you have to be ready year round.
Yeah.
Like the day chooses itself. Like it just appears on the map.
Yeah.
And so you always have to like stay ready. It's like that was when I was like really hyper focused on really big waves it was like about a 10-year period, roughly from like 34 to 45. I always told myself at 45 I'm done. I'm gonna be done surfing Jaws Mavericks when I'm 45, and I told my wife that. And so I knew I had this window of opportunity to like really send it. And so I was like, hey, until I'm 45, I'm just gonna like get crazy fit. And that way I'm like crazy confident, have the right mindset. And I think if you should do it though, like you should like, if you're interested in it, you should probably put it on your list of things to do.
For sure. No, I want to like plan it out, do
Yeah.
it, and like train for it.
Do it the right way.
Try to
yeah,
do it right.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it looks just like the other. Actually, there was a day recently since we've been over here,
Yeah.
and it just looked not like psycho big, and the wind looked light.
Yeah.
And it didn't look that crowded. I was like, oh my
Yeah.
god, that looks so fun.
I think in your mind, how you would approach it out there is like, it's not like how you'd get out there and be like timid. I already know, like, because I took Seth there, Seth Moniz, and he was so freaked out. Like, I don't know, I'm just gonna cruise. And I was like, dude, no pressure. Like, we're just gonna go and have fun. And check it out. You know what I mean? But like, don't be afraid of that feeling of like, I want one. You know, just take it slow. Like, get a small one and see how it feels. See how your board feels. See what the wave feels like and the speed. But you'd be blown away, dude. You get one small one and you're like, oh my gosh, it is on.
Yeah.
You'd be like speed paddling back out, like for real, like crazy. To see a wave like that at Jaws coming in, even if it's like a medium-sized wave, but just the hook, it's like cloud break reverse. Like it's hooking at you and bending, and the only way you're gonna make that wave is if you get like way up in the middle of your board and like knife it like it's backdoor. It's so sick. There's nothing else like it in the world. That's
so
really
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah, watching you guys ride those waves. I think what trips me out, like that cloud break session, was like there wasn't a drop of water out of place.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was like, oh, like I know this wave at 6 feet. It's like kind of like a 12 to 15 foot version of it. Like, okay. But looking at those waves at Jaws, when you guys are paddling down the face and there's like 1 to 2 foot cross chops coming up. And to me, I'm thinking like, can you guys even see? Or are you just freaking fully by braille at that point, you know? Like, that freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah, as it should. It is intimidating in real life, that wind over there. It's gnarly.
Because it's a whole, like, it just, I feel like it just changes the feeling of like what I know about riding a wave and like the connection with the board and the wave.
Yeah.
Because I don't surf in wind like that ever. Maybe sunset almost, but not close to that still, right?
That's when the mindset part, it takes over.
Yeah.
That's when all the training and being like physically like really ready, that's when you just like go, I've been training for this, and I just saw this other guy put his head down and go, and he made it. I'm going.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're like a little bit like, whoa, I don't know, I've really been training for this, or I have a cough right now, like all that stuff starts getting in your mind, and then you're way better off to just get back on the ski and chill.
Chill.
Yeah.
Sure.
I did that multiple times where I would go to Jaws, I would buy my ticket, pay the water safety guys, go over there, like take time out of my life, do all the deal, rent a car, go through the whole thing, and then I would go there, and then I would get on the ski and get in the lineup, and I'd be like, it's just not right.
Just not feeling it.
Yeah, multiple. I mean, I probably did that like 6 or 8 times where I just didn't even paddle out. And it's like, when it's not right, it's not right.
Yeah.
For me, I like had to be like, I had a rule surfing big waves, and I always I would always work with the Surfline guys. I wouldn't even go unless those guys would tell me, because they would send me like really like detailed forecasts of where, you know, like if Jaws was going to be good or what. They'd be like, swell coming for Jaws, and I'd be like, hey, well, that pretty much means nothing to me. It has to be an 8 out of 10 on the conditions and an 8 out of 10 on size. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I'm not interested. I want to only go if it's going to be like really worth it, like a life changer possibility. And sometimes it looks like that on the map, on the forecast, and I would go, and I'd get there and the wind would be a little bit wrong, and I just chill. I would just like take my suit off, put my sweatshirt on, and relax. And everyone's like, what are you doing? The waves are like 25 feet. I'm like, I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah.
You know? Like the wave I was looking for wasn't there. Yeah. And then other times I was like breathing fire, you know, like I had to.
This is the day.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. How much of that do you think is like you thinking about things versus just like an intuitive, like gut feel sort of thing where like I'm just not feeling it? Or is it more just like the recipe's not there and you can kind of like think about it?
I mean, it could be a number of things. Like there were times where I paddled in the lineup and something didn't feel right. And I just, like, my intuition was like, today's not your day.
Yeah.
And I literally like just say hi to everybody and paddle back to the boat.
So it was more
multiple
like
times I didn't even
thing.
catch a wave. Not like, oh, I need to catch it's weird to paddle back to the boat, it's embarrassing, everyone's gonna think something or anything like that. Is no worries, like, yeah boys, I'm out. You know? So I don't know, like it's life and death when you're dealing with that kind of stuff. Like there shouldn't be any ego involved in your decision making process. It should be like training, preparation, mindset, everything lined up, and everything's good, and you're all green lights. If there's like red lights, you're better off just waiting till the next swell.
For sure. Would you, like obviously you've been super into like physically training for a really long time. Would you do specific things to train your mind?
I thought of those things as mostly the same thing. I did some mindset work, specifically simple things like visualizing, a lot of like visualizing, and some would call it like meditation, but most of the mental edge that I had, I would say came from suffering in the gym. Like just really horrible workouts day after day. And that made me feel like I was ready for absolutely anything.
Because that gave you like the mental strength.
Yeah.
And just like when you're out there, you knew like I've put in the work.
Yeah.
So I'm ready.
Yep.
And that's where you got your confidence
Yes,
from.
for sure. 90% of my confidence was, a lot of it is just all the experience you've had in the ocean.
Yeah.
But like apart from that, 90% of my confidence was just like, I'm physically ready because I've been doing the work. And then I'm ready. I'm ready to get beat down. I can get held onto by any of these waves, I'm gonna be fine.
So,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Was there any spots or like waves around the world that you didn't feel like, that you still are kind of like, oh, I want to get the session there? Or?
Yeah, I guess Cloudbreak would be one of those places, although I did do 6 years of being a boatman on Tavarua. Almost every one of those years was for 2 months. So I did spend like a considerable amount of time during like the peak windows at Cloudbreak, and I did get to surf it multiple times at like 15 feet, but definitely not as good. I missed 2 epic swells there, twice because I was injured both times.
Like that Vulcan swell?
Yeah, I was injured. Yeah, I was coming back from a really bad injury, and it was heartbreaking. I would have loved to have been there, but I really feel like I wasn't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What can you do?
But brutal to watch that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was in my prime, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was like ready to go. I wanted every bit of that. So that was brutal to watch all the imagery come out of that. I was like, oh my gosh, that was like the best day in history, and I wasn't a part of it. So there is a little bit like, oh man, I wish I would have had like a 20-foot swell at Cloudbreak, you know what I mean? But I did really get it really good a lot. So can't complain too much. But no, I mean, I had really amazing waves in Ireland at Aleen's. That was like on my list. I had incredible waves like all over the world. I was so lucky to be able to travel so much, and still am. So it's really great.
If that Cloudbreak swell popped up today, would you feel like?
That's a good question. I think that's one of those things I may have to like bend my rules a bit for. Yeah, I think I probably would be interested in going. Yeah.
So I hope that happens. I want to go too.
And
I
I
want
do.
to be more ready
I
for
do.
that one.
I still am really into training and stuff, so I feel like I'd be ready for that, for Cloudbreak for sure. Yeah. I don't know that I'd be like sending myself on like the biggest waves or anything like that, but I'd be looking for gems, and I know that my ability's still there, my mindset's still there, and I know I can get held under for some good amount of time still. So
For sure, and like probably with your experience at that wave in particular too, you'd kind of be able to be like, okay, like this is the wave I'm looking for, that I feel
I'd definitely be very
really
calculated
comfortable going on.
Yeah, I wouldn't go unless it was like I said, like all green lights, So, yeah.
Because you put in a lot of time surfing backdoor and pipe this year, like more than in the years past.
Yeah,
huh?
for sure.
It was sick
And a lot
to
of
see
that, yeah, thank you. I was psyched. A lot of that is just feeling good physically. Like my body feels really good. I went through years and so I stopped surfing big waves. I stopped surfing Jaws and Mavericks and those kind of waves and Nazare and stuff when I was 45. And then I had like some gnarly back issues, like in my 40, even when I was like 44, 45, all the way to like 48, like really bad back issues. Like my back would just go out. Sometimes it would go out for like a month, 6 weeks, or I couldn't surf at all. I started having to like pass up surf, really cool surf trips, bow hunting trips, like snowboard trips. And it was horrible, man. There's a lot of time. It's hard to remember actually now how bad it was, but my wife always reminds me how bad my back was. But I've done a lot of work in like the last 5 years for my back, and it's a lot. It's the best it's been in at least 15 years. So this year it's been amazing, like to be able to see pipe and backdoor going off and be like super comfortable to paddle out there. and have good sessions and get good waves and feel confident. Yeah, it's amazing. I never really thought that at 53 I'd be like trying to catch 10-foot waves out of pipe.
Dude, yeah, that right you got was huge.
Yeah, I was psyched.
I feel like those are the scariest waves out here to me, like the big days, the right, I just feel like, oh, what's this thing gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
you know you're gonna take off and get barreled, but then like, what's it gonna do down on the
That's
end?
what makes it so fun though, that unknown, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was really cool last year. My body felt really great last year as well, and I had to spend about 70 to 80 days in Tahiti for coaching the Olympics.
Whoa, you were there that much?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So I went for like before the CT, all through the CT, because I was coaching with the athletes and doing a lot of like the kind of pre-setup like logistical work for all of the Olympics. And then I went for 30 days during the Olympics. And so I was there a lot, and I brought like a full quiver. And so I got multiple like 8 to 10 foot days at
Sick.
Chopes where I was like really feeling it, like where I wasn't going on the biggest waves, but at the time I really didn't think I wanted those waves. It was super fun to be able to be in the mix, you know?
That's so cool.
I only need one.
Yeah.
At this age, I'm not like buzzing the lineup like Emio or something like that. I'm like, like, I get one and I'm like, whoo, yeah, boys, like high five everybody and like go chill.
Sick.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Are you still going to be doing surf coaching and work with the team and stuff, or is that kind of TBD?
I will do a little bit. Like I committed to a couple athletes for the pipe event in 2026, but I'm scaling back a little bit from that to give myself more time to do some of the other things that are on the front burner at the moment. I'm not going to like pursue lots of coaching or anything like that. I had a couple athletes ask me to do the tour with them last year, and that's just not where I'm at right at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying life, and I have some really amazing opportunities to do things that I'm super passionate about, and I'm super lucky to have options. I feel like that's the ultimate measure of success in my life, is having options. When I have options, I feel like life is a success, you know, where I'm choosing between things. That's
Totally.
like amazing.
Yeah, it's not
when
like,
you feel
I
like
have
you're
to do this to provide
yeah,
for the family. And,
yeah, and that's like really normal to feel like you have to do stuff all the time. And I have had that plenty of times in my life, but it's really nice right now where I feel like I have some great options.
Do you still, like, were you someone who always, at the beginning of the year, like, sat down and set goals for yourself? Or you, like, write stuff down, or, like...
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm way out on the spectrum with that stuff, like, but this year I definitely did. This year I really, like, have been super intentional about my goals for 2026. And yeah, I feel like it's really powerful to write them down and to tell other people about them, because, like, I don't know, a goal without a plan is a wish.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't have a way to achieve that goal, the goal means nothing unless you come back from that goal and, okay, what's it going to take to qualify or to get in great shape? Like, having a goal to get in shape means nothing. Everyone has that goal.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
100 out of
who wants to
100
be-
people have a goal of getting in shape.
Totally.
But everybody knows what it takes. It takes a lot, and it's a process. And yeah, so I had to write down my goals, and then also not just my goals, but like weekly, what am I going to do to get there? You know what I mean? Kind of thing. So yeah, it's good.
Would you mind sharing a couple of them?
Yeah, they're probably uninteresting to most people listening to this.
No, I think it's interesting because I think what is interesting about it is, like, someone who's accomplished and done so much rad shit in their life. Like, what's, you know, like, what are you writing down this year that you're like
Yeah.
stoked to focus on?
I mean, I think just continuing to learn is a really big one. I'm learning about artificial intelligence, so like I'm allocating time like weekly to try to learn how to leverage that in like my real estate development job that I'm working with those guys. So I'm like, it's really helpful for my job, all that stuff. So I'm like learning about that. That's one of my goals. Which some of that is just like daunting. It's like overwhelming to learn that stuff, but it's incredibly powerful, and it's coming whether you like it or not. So there's that, and then a lot of it has to do with work. Like, I definitely want to do a couple like really great surf trips, so that's on my goal list. I want to do at least 2 really great surf trips, and I have some surfing goals around like working with Billabong and things I really want to do within surfing. And then also like with the fitness coaching thing, that's something that is just totally different, and I have some goals around like starting a business, doing that like on the side, like something that's like, I don't know how to explain that any better, but and then I want to be able to do a bar muscle up.
What is that? I don't even know what that is.
It's just something I always just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, you know when you do a pull-up, it's like, imagine doing a pull-up into a dip, like into a press. So you go past the bar, it goes like that.
Gnarly.
You know what I mean? You go up over the bar.
Yep.
And on a bar. You can do it on rings. I haven't done it in a long time because I'm pretty old, but I used to do ring muscle ups like a gymnast, like this, where you go over the rings like this, and then go down and then back over. And so like that's one of my physical goals this year, as I want to be able to do bar muscle ups. They're hard to do.
Yeah. I'm stoked when I can get to like 8 pull-ups.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's just takes work, but yeah, I mean, and also just to continue surfing a lot. I'm like, this winter on the North Shore, my goal was to surf way more and heavier waves, and I've been really trying to like be intentional about that and get out there. I ordered bigger boards, and so I've been like kind of like, it's easy to make excuses on not surfing pipe when you get older. It's easy to avoid that, like, oh, pipe's good, I'm gonna go get a plate lunch.
Oh, for
or
sure.
I'm gonna go train, or I'm gonna go look down in Mokalia or something like that.
Totally.
So making myself go out there when it's big has been awesome, and that's a goal for sure. And then I definitely want to do a couple of great surf trips in 2026.
Sick.
Yeah.
How does Jackson like tap into your just experience and your wealth of knowledge frequently, or is it more like kind of lead by example, and is he more just like figuring it out?
You'd have to ask him.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to help him without being overbearing.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from, especially my mom, like I said, and from other people, not so much from them trying to teach me, but more like just having that awareness to pay attention.
And just being a good learner. Like it seems like you're just really able to like soak things in that are around you and pull in what you want.
I try to set a good example of the kind of human I want him to look up to. That's like, I don't know, there's a lot as a father with that kind of stuff, but trying to be the kind of person that your kids look up to is like, that's like the goal for me. And so the way I live my life, like discipline and following through, and like your word meaning a lot, and, you know, respecting people's places to stay, and, you know, people's property, and like just being, you know, if you tell someone you're gonna be there, you be there, like all those things. I try not to like, I probably say it too, to be honest. I don't know. You'd have to ask him though, but I don't try to barf all the stuff I know onto him. A lot of that stuff you just have to learn yourself, you know. Yeah. But he's doing good. He's a cool kid, and he's a lot of fun to be around, and we really like each other and like spending time together. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm stoked that I've gotten to know him and gotten to travel with him a little bit and surf with him.
Yeah, thanks for taking him to Mexico with you.
Oh, yeah,
I loved that
fun.
trip.
Dude, yeah, he was
so fired up.
Surfer.
He was so pumped.
It was a blast. Yeah. Is that something where you, like as a dad now, I'm kind of like, oh, like it'd be fun to surf with my son, but was that something that you were like excited about, or I almost could be like nervous in today's day and age, like, oh, my kid wants to be a pro surfer? Like, that must be kind of trippy, huh?
Yes, very. You know, and I never even thought about it. I never even considered the possibility of that happening, because like if there's 100 little kids on the beach right now, and you had to like pick one that was going to be a pro surfer, like a successful one, like it's impossible. Like
it's so hard.
So many weird things have to happen. It's like a miracle in any sport to get high level. So like the chances of it happening are like minuscule. Even if your dad does it, you know what I mean? Even then, it can be even harder. But anyway, when he was about 8 years old, he found skateboarding and he became obsessed with skateboarding, maybe even 6 years old. And then he was just a skater for like 3 years. I would just spend all of my days at the skate park with him for hours and hours and hours. He had so much energy. And then he somehow, I got him in the water when he was really young, like really, really young. Like he was on my board at Tabarua when I was a boatman, like on the front of a longboard and soft top, and I'd ride waves with him all the time. And then he was riding on my back like all the time. Like I'd ride a longboard and throw him on my back and we'd ride waves together. But then when he found skateboarding, he was just like, I remember times where I was like, let's go to the beach, just catch a few waves. Yeah. And he's like, surfing's your thing, Dad. Like, I'm a skateboarder. Like, and I had to wrap my head around that.
Totally.
And then it was really weird, like somehow organically he found surfing, like fell in love with it. And then he started getting good at it, and then he fell in love with it more and became obsessed with getting good at it. And then you saw his evolution. Like, it happened like really fast at a young age. Like, he got really good like when he was tiny.
Totally.
And it was so fun for me because I was a dad and I was really good at surfing. So like I was having this crazy bonding experience with my kid.
Yeah.
So I was that dad who was paddling around with him, pushing him into every perfect wave, not like at the peak at backdoor or anything like that, but like I was really, really enjoying that experience of bonding with my kid in the water. It's like a dream come true to have that kind of connection. Not only just to spend time with your kid, but like to have those moments where like their joy is like 11 out of 10 paddling back out, and then traveling together, taking them to Mexico and like doing the father-son surf trip deal. Yeah. Like all of that is 11 out of 10. So I don't regret any of it. And then the fact that he like got good enough to become a pro surfer is like really weird to me still. I never really saw it coming. I just was like psyched that he liked to surf.
So cool.
That's all I cared about, is he loved to surf, because for me, surfing has given me everything. Like almost every single friend I have in my life, I never would have met had I not been a surfer. Like I never would have met my wife if I wasn't a surfer. I never would have, like, all my most important relationships in my life, aside from my family, are all through surfing. Whoa, that was crazy.
Fireworks.
But yeah, so when he fell in love with surfing, I guess what I'm trying to say is when Jackson fell in love with surfing, I was excited for him in that way. Like surfing is going to lead to really cool things in his life, because whether or not he, maybe he'll go to college one day and on spring break, everyone will go surfing. And he was like, I know how to surf, let's go. Like, that's all I was thinking.
For sure.
Yeah.
And now he's just on his own whole path through it. Just
now he
doing it.
Never comes home. Like he was like
so
in
crazy.
every country around the world last year on his own. It's cool.
Yeah, we saw him in France, just charging solo. He had his e-bike. He was like up and down, like coming out. He'd like come out to the parties for a while, cruise, check everything out. Then, all right, I'm going back. And like first guy out in the morning. Yeah, it's cool. I could really tell when we were in Mexico just like how into surfing he is. Like, because my brother and I are pretty like nerdy, and I think like we got it from Gur, just like breaking down like technique and like really into, like the way the body moves and trying to like figure out how to get better.
Yeah.
But there's not too many kids, I feel like, that you get around that have that sort of passion for it.
It's extreme.
Dude, I was like, okay, Jackson has it like 2 times more than I do. Like,
it's radical.
All day long, just like watching and just breaking things down and like, oh, that turn that guy does, and like this thing about this technique, and like it was pretty impressive to just see like how committed he was to getting better. And like I didn't see him surf for a while, and I saw him surf. I was like, oh, he's surfing better again. It just seems like he's on that path of just like constant evolution in surfing. It's cool.
He wouldn't agree with that, but
I know. Well, dude, that was the funny thing. We got down like first wave. He comes, oh, my stance was steer. I was like, dude, I don't know. It looked like you ripped the bag out of that thing. Like, go get another one.
He's so like, you know what it's like. He hyper analyzes everything, and he's like you said, like his mind works in that detailed way where he's always focused on getting better, watching his clips and watching Ethan Ewing's clips or like whoever like he's really into. And I'm like, dude, at some point just turn your phone off and just go surfing.
Yeah, just let it rip.
Don't care what your hands look like or your hips or your shoulders or where your power is coming from. Just go super fast. Blow past like 10 sections and just try to turn as hard as you can. Like, don't even think about what you're doing. Just, because like you can overanalyze things, like, at some point, like you just got to go out there and like let it rip, like let your hair down and shred.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, because it's funny, surfing's sort of like a weird thing like that, where it's like, yeah, technique and this and that, but like sometimes I'm like, oh, we kind of all just have to surf the way we surf a little bit. Like if you try too much, you can tell someone's trying too much.
Yeah.
I always feel like I'm doing my best at surfing when I'm not thinking about anything and just like doing what feels right and just trying to like flow with it.
For sure.
Go where it takes you.
Yeah. It's funny.
I know one other thing I really wanted to ask you about was investing. And because I know you were in the group with Miller and the boys and stuff. And like, how'd you get into that?
Oh man, it's probably not a very interesting story, but I think it's a good story. So the way I got into investing is I knew nothing about stocks, and I went surfing with my buddy one day. And he was older than me. He was a waiter on the Big Island, and he was like, hey, let's go surfing. And the waves were flat where I lived, and so we drove up north. So we had this super long drive. It was basically like a surf trip for the whole day. And he was telling me about how his dad wanted him to go and work for his company, like in like the Bay Area. And this guy was like a waiter. Like he waited tables at night. He had a cute girlfriend. He lived on the Big Island, and he just had this like really idyllic life.
Yeah.
And his dad had this like high-powered job owning this company in California. And he was like, yeah, my dad wants me to go work for the company and like kind of get out of here and go do that life, and I'm just uninterested. But he's like, my dad owns this big coffee company, and he told me that if I don't want to come work for the company, at least invest all my money that I have in Starbucks stock. And he's like, and his dad was the guy who started the coffee bean.
No way.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And so anyway, I didn't know anything about stocks, but I had saved up about $5,000 at the time. And
how old were you at this point?
I was like, I don't know. It was 2003. So I was probably, I don't know what I was. I don't know exactly what age I was, but I was fairly young, I guess. Anyway, I bought, so
like somewhere around 30?
Yeah, probably, yeah. And I wasn't like, it feels weird for me to think that I was around 30 because I feel like I was into stuff like that earlier than that, but maybe I just wasn't. No, it was earlier than that.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. It was 2002 or something like that, around there, which was, yeah, I guess so. I guess I was around that age. Anyway, so my friend tells me this, and so I get out of the car, and I'm like, I need to buy a Starbucks stock. And so I called my friend, who was kind of my financial advisor at the time at Morgan Stanley, and I said, hey, I want to put this $5,000 that I have saved up in this account into Starbucks stock. So he's like, cool. So the next day I bought Starbucks stock, and I didn't really think anything about it. So like 6 months later, I looked, and it had like tripled in like 6 months, and I was like, oh my gosh, my $5,000 turned into $15,000, and I didn't even do anything. All I did was like press a button and call my.
I didn't even have to win a contest.
I didn't have to think. I didn't do anything. And then I was like 6 months later. It was like 2003, 2004, and I was at the U.S. Open in California. My whole crew was about to go to France, and it was right when the iPod came out, the very first iPod. It's like the white one, like with the wheel, the click wheel. And at the time, I was competing. Sorry, it's a long story. At the time, I was competing full time, and I was like going everywhere with my backpack full of CDs. There was no like Netflix or anything like that. It was like your only entertainment was music, and the only music was on CDs, you know? And so all of a sudden, I got this iPod, and Ross got it, Kelly got it, Pat O'Connell got it, Rob Machado got it, Taylor Knox got it, and we all went to France like 2 days later, and we all got those iPods. And all of a sudden, I had all of my friends' music, all of our backpacks worth of CDs on my little thing, and I was like, what do I do with my CDs? They're like rubbish. And they were like getting scratched, and this thing never got scratched. I was like, oh my gosh, this changes everything. And I'm like, hundreds of millions of people are gonna have this experience, because I was like, I got it like the first day it came out.
Yeah, and you had 6 people right next to you.
Yeah,
do the same
I was
thing.
like, this changes everything. And at the time, I had more money that I had saved up, and so I called my financial advisor again and said, hey, I want to put everything I have into Apple stock. And so those were the 2 stocks I bought, and it was at the very start of a really strong bull market, meaning like a really strong market. And so both of those stocks over like the next 2 or 3 years just went like this, and I was like, this is crazy. Watching like this little seed that I planted grow into like a tree, you know? And I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So then I became really interested in stocks and companies. I started like reading books about Warren Buffett. He was like the best investor in history at the time, and I was like, what is he doing? And I wanted to learn all about him. And I started like learning about stocks, and then I started buying some other stocks that like I started buying stocks where companies I understood. Like I understood how Apple had a massive advantage. Every single one of my friends owned it, and it changed the way I was entertained. Like that, and I still do that to this day. Like I'm really focused on like learning about companies and like how they change the way we live, we work, we play, like Uber, like it's changing the way we have transportation. Like Amazon, they're changing the way we shop and purchase goods, and Apple, they're changing the way we watch movies and listen to music, and so I just became obsessed with learning about stocks. And then I got more into like, instead of just buying and holding, which is really, really good way to do it, I started getting a little bit more into like trading, just to be more involved. I still do the buy and hold thing, but yeah, it just became like, my brain works that way. I love challenges. I love learning new things. I love research. I love like researching how companies have an advantage. I love creating a thesis of why a company is going to do well and seeing if I'm right by putting my money on it. And yeah, it's super fun. I'm obsessed. So sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night to pee and I start thinking about stocks and I just start writing and I can't go back to sleep. Yeah, it's super fun.
Right.
And then now, like you said, I have this really fun group of guys that we're all, it's mostly from the surf group, but it's like 10 of us. Ross Williams is in there, Ryan Miller, who's a photographer, is in there, Eric Knutson, who's John's filmer, is in there, John, Nathan Florence, there's a couple other people, I'm drawing a blank, but it's a really fun group of people. And like everybody has a different experience level. Some people are new to stocks. Some people like me and Miller are the oldest guys and we've been in stocks for like a long time. And we basically talk shit all year on a text thread about stocks. And then at the end of the last trading day of each month, we have to screenshot our account for the month, our month performance and our year-to-date performance, and put it, and then we make a chart like our ongoing, like throughout the year of our performance. So all of our lines are like this. And then at the end of the year it's a competition. So whoever wins gets a trophy with their name on it and our stuff. And then the two worst performers have to buy a killer sushi dinner for the rest of the group. So it's super fun. And then the guy who loses has to get the winner's face on pajamas.
Oh my gosh.
And wear the pajamas and post it on social media.
Epic.
So it's really fun. We made it really fun. And the point of the thing is not to win. A lot of people get like competitive and stuff, but the point of the group is to learn.
Totally.
To get better at it. So over time, like if you get 1 or 2% better per year at something like that, it could be really meaningful over time. So it's just super fun.
For sure.
Sorry, that was a long...
No, it's awesome.
Don't get me started on the stock thing. I'll shut up.
Well, I just think it's, especially, I feel so fortunate from like earning like money at a young-ish age,
Yeah.
It's like, I was really fortunate that my parents like had a business. So they were like, hey, like you should do this, like buy an investment property, or like, hey, I learned the first stock I ever got was my grandpa gave me a couple of shares of Nike for my birthday when I rode for Hurley, because Nike had bought Hurley.
Yeah.
And like I didn't at the time think anything of it, but then I was like, oh, I'll buy some more Nike stock, and like that ended up being like it was a good run for Nike.
So
and like
well.
I bought Apple when I was really young, because like same thing. I was like, oh, all my friends like we all use this thing, and but I just feel so fortunate because it helped set me up for life. And like, not that money's everything, but I feel like having that bit of financial literacy from a young age can like, you don't have to change your life that much to really like open up some doors later. And I know you said for you, like a lot of your success is feeling free to like do the things you want to do, and like that can kind of help open that up a little bit.
It's funny because you're not supposed to talk about that. You're not supposed to, like Conner Coffin's not supposed to talk about money. You're not supposed to know anything about stocks. Like when we have our group, like we have our group dinner, and like I'll put it on my Instagram. I'm psyched. I love stocks. I love our group. I love learning. We're a bunch of amateur hacks. Yeah. Like super fun to learn. And I'll like make a little carousel post about our fun dinner and our group, and there's all these people like trolling me, like, you shouldn't like stock, like this is like unrelatable. You shouldn't, like, I'm not supposed to care about my financial well-being.
Totally.
I'm not supposed to be interested in investing. Like, what? That makes zero sense to me at all.
It's so weird. And in today's day and age, like with things like Robinhood and stuff, it's like more accessible to every single person on the planet. Dude, almost.
No one in my family is going to pass away and leave me a bunch of money.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
It's up to me. Period.
Totally.
So I gotta take responsibility to it.
Like, why would other people not want to be like trying to?
Yeah, I don't know. So I think it's fun to like have our group is really fun, because it's like kind of like there's so much taboo about finances, and now we have like an open group. It's like everybody talks about everything, like, and Miller's really good. He's one of the guys in our group, and he's really open about all the things he's learned, and he's really organized. He does crazy research with like financial planning and taxes and ways to structure things. So like, it's a cheat code.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a sick group, because it's like we don't all have time to do everything. So you guys are like pooling your resources. Nathan
Florence kicked our butt this year.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a 50% year.
Wow.
He was up over 50% for the year, and the S&P 500, which is like the benchmark everyone's trying to beat, was up 16%. He was up 50.
And is that like a specific account you guys just do like a certain amount, so it's like the playing field's even? right there? Or
Yeah,
no?
well, the playing field's even because we base it off percentage gain.
So you could have 10 grand or 5 grand or whatever it is.
You could have any amount of money.
Yeah.
And so everybody in our group has a different amount of money to their name.
Yeah.
Like some people are doing really well, and some people are, not on that same level. Like we have John and Kelly in our group, and Nathan, and so, and then we have all kinds of different people in our group. So it doesn't matter what the level of money is. It's all about the percentage that you're doing well for the year. So Nate had a real account too. He didn't have a tiny account, and he was up over 50% for the year. So, and I have to say it, this was our 6th year, and we've only had 2 winners until this year.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I won 3 times and Miller won twice, and I was like so wanting someone else to win, just because I love our group and I wanted like morale to like be super killer, but it's funny because we're the 2 most experienced people too, right?
Yeah.
So like that's like a good thing. That should be like something that like gives you a lot of confidence going forward. That like you only get better at this. You know what I mean? As you age, as you get older, if you're into it, you get better at it. Just like surfing or just like anything else.
For sure.
Yeah.
Sick. That's cool. Well, thanks, Shane. I really appreciate
fun,
you
dude.
taking the time, dude. So cool.
That was a fun conversation.
I hope 2026 is a damn good year.
Yeah.
Fired up to
I
see
know
what
it will
you
be
get
for
up to.
both of us.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I hope we get to get tuned.
Yeah. Let's do a surf trip.
Yeah, let's do it.
Sometime of the year. That'd be fun.
That'd be so fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, for
Appreciate
sure.
it. Heck yeah.
Yeah.